Welcome to this March edition of the MDriven meetup, Wednesdays with MDriven, one Wednesday each month, at least. So if there are questions, please just blurt them out and we will do our best to address them, and don't be shy. So what I had in mind for today's session was a few things that we have added to the MDriven designer to make finding things easier. I also alluded to that maybe we could see something more about the Docker container things, but I don't see Charles here, so maybe not today. We'll see. Gonna share my screen. Is my screen visible now? Yes, okay, good. So these new things that I've discovered was a good thing to add has to do with the feature that might not be very well known from the start. Let's see, now I dropped something. I just had a noise, so now I see that you're all on mute, so you need to unmute if you should say anything. So, good. So as the model grows, one will always end up in situations where things are used that you didn't really expect being used. And it's always good to be able to get an overview of what is used and why it's used. So this analyze expressions is good for that sort of thing, because it instantly loops through everything, in this case in one view model, and analyzes all the expressions to bring out what the details, combined details of the model that is addressed in one automated diagram. So in this case, it's quite easy and small. We can see that it's a thing, and the value store is apparently used with this single link, and then we have the details. So one issue that I found was that this didn't include the left side actions, and we can see that by creating an example. So if I were to have left side actions on this one, I'm gonna add a view model action here, and then say that the enable expression on this one is some completely new class, all instances. And there is no such class, so I'm going to add that real quickly by just using these shortcuts. And so this is the enable expression, so it needs to evaluate to something Boolean. So I'm just going to say not empty on this one. So now we have a potential pitfall here that this is quite heavy depending on how many objects we have of this completely new class. And we wouldn't necessarily see that in the analyze expression. So this can trick you up real bad because you get poor performance, but you don't know why you get poor performance. So to fix that, we introduced this new checkbox to also include the left side actions when doing this diagram. So if I were to check this, it discovers that also this one is used by the complete view model. So that helps me to discover that here is something going on, which was easy to miss if I didn't have this ability. So I can switch between these two to see what the actions bring in. So this is good. And similarly, we had another issue of the same sort of in the same area. That was when we have like state machines. So if this class has a state machine which has some different states, and in order to make this work we need a trigger to actually change the state. So we're going to call that trigger 1, and maybe in this trigger we have a guard of yet another thing. And that should not be empty. And we don't have that class either, so I'm going to create that real quick. So now this might be a problem if I want to check if this trigger is available. If I can actually step from state 1 to state 2. And we can do that by adding yet another view model action that has an enable expression of self being a, let's see, yeah, correct. So self is not available in a view model action. Instead I must use the variables. So I use the vcurrent root to have the thing that is in this view model, and then I can access the state machine's triggers to check. Trigger 1, trigger queries. So trigger 1 with a question mark behind it means, is the trigger 1 available for me to execute? So this is a good way to protect against using a trigger which wouldn't be valid. So if this passes, then it will be enabled, and then I can do the execute to actually execute the trigger later. And this is all good, but when analyzing expressions, I can bring in the left side actions. That's good. I see the first new class that I added, and I also see that the trigger is added. But what I don't see is what is inside the trigger. So I'm unaware that when this is evaluated, that other new class will also be checked. So to fix that, we added this new checkbox. Look inside methods and state actions and guards. So this helps me to further get information what this view model actually will do. So if I click this one shows up. So there's yet another thing that is used somehow. So this helped me in finding a few bottlenecks, but what was missing was also the fact that some of these are all instances, and that is something that is always suspicious if they are large. So the third new checkbox that was added was to highlight the ones that actually in these expressions that build up this diagram has used the operator all instances on them. So these were now framed in yellow to help me understand that this is the effect of this view model, and that isn't necessarily obvious just looking at things from the start. And of course this becomes really important as things grow. And maybe we also should discuss the statistics that will go into this, because if one of these classes has millions of objects, it's much worse than if this one only have 100. And how could you possibly know that? Well, the only way to know that is to actually collect some statistics from a real life scenario, from a database that you actually run. So in order to do that, we would need to get some feedback from the MDriven server that has executed a model like this. Let's see if that is doable real easy. So if we save this model as temp and stay number 1000 maybe, and we say that we want to set up an MDriven server, and then we would make sure that we have the latest versions of the software available. And once we have that, we would want to, we can take this server pair and refresh that install. So the first button makes sure that the server software is on my computer, and then I can refresh all my servers if I want. I just wanted to refresh this one. This one is called server 1. So now I can start these. So start both the turnkey and the MDriven server. Now I can choose to actually use server 1. So that goes to this port 5000, and I can check that that's running, and then I upload my model from here and see that the database is updated somehow. Good. Now I can for example with the debugger make sure that I have some instances of these objects that I'm using. So I'm gonna start the yeah, let's take the debugger this way and say that we are on the MDriven server, and we're gonna start the system, and with the debugger we can do this yet other thing and create some new and save. And we also do these some completely new class seeker and create some things and save that. Let's see if we have any things from before. Yes, we do. So good. What we can do now is to visit the MDriven server, which will be on this address, to try to get some statistics from it. So let's go to a browser and localhost 5000 and logging in with a default password for these local servers, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now I should be able to download data stats to use with MDriven Design. So what that will do is to give me a file called MDriven Service Stats 5 in this case. So that was located down in downloads folder. Okay, so I can head over to my model and say import MDriven data stats. And then I go to my downloads folder and take that file. So what that did for me is hopefully that once I go back to here, I will get the information on how many instances there are of things. So what we can do actually is take a look at this file just in a browser to, well, it wouldn't open in that one, so I'm gonna open it in Notepad just to see what it contains. And what we'll see is that for each class there is a count. So what the MDriven server does is produce some SQL to select count from each table in the database. And for each foreign key that it stores, it selects count on that, and it groups on, so it gets a max, which object has the most associated objects in this kind of association, and which one, and what is the average of associated objects. So that means that we get some good statistics to know which one of our expressions is the worst when it comes to a performance or a data access perspective. And it will list all the ones up here, and it will also state the cost. So the cost is like a fantasy number that just increase. So normally there will be, if you see a cost that is in the 1,000, I would definitely consider diving down into which is the worst performer and to find what's the issue with that. And of course, if you find things that are really bad, there's always the option to use the PS eval operator to work around bringing everything into memory, because that can be it might not be necessary, and it might be really, really bad for performance. So as I check these, I can see that these numbers also update, because now when I look inside the left side actions, I get higher cost than when I didn't include them. So that's a good indicator that there's something going on that I might want to address. And here I can see that the highest one is this one that pulls 17. So 17 is still nothing. It's the highest cost in this, but it wouldn't be a problem in any scenario. So here I can also see, I can use this to, if I were to run the application on this, and the turnkey is on 5001, I guess I can show what. Here I have a few thing objects, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I view one of them, this one has a few details already, but this only has one. So let's go ahead and add a lot here. And add a lot, oops, a lot here as well. Just to show that this stats will update. So running data, and so I get a new file, and we're gonna open that one, this one. Didn't download. Sure why it's not cooperating. Where did it go? 7. So please open. Doesn't open. Please open the folder. Doesn't open the folder. There it is. Open the folder. Now, no. MDriven. Supposed to be called 7, but okay. Sometimes it's harder than it needs to be. What is there? Some other download folder? I had, okay, I don't know, open with Notepad. Now we can see that the link details for, yeah, let's see here. So this is the stats for the thing class. There were 6 instances of thing, and the details has at most, the one with most details has 17 of them. The average between all these 6 is apparently 50. So that's good to know if I then re-import this one, import, take that one, and how this information is stored is actually on the separate classes as tag values. So you can, if you figure out ways to use this on your own, you're very welcome. So the tag values here will have MDR for MDriven server, statistics, count 6. So that was the value that we read. And the details association end will also have a tag value. So it has 2 of them, the max and the average. And these values then are used whenever we want to analyze expressions. For example, here in for a complete view model. So when that information is available, it will show up as information there. Right. Questions on that or reflections? This will the need will become apparent once your model grows, so you can't have everything in your head, and you're surprised by things that you have done in the past, and you might question why you ever did it one way or another way, and that's totally natural because data grows. And when I add a new class today, I have no issues with doing all instances is empty on it. But if that sort of takes on and is heavily used, it will become a problem in the future. And then it's really important to be able to discover these dynamic effects after the problem has arisen. So how would I go about to address these things if it turns out that this is a problem? I said that I can always use PS eval, and what did I mean by that? So instead of having the trigger or the guard on this one doing all instances, which potentially then would bring in 1,000 objects just to check if there is one. It would be a better approach to do something else. So I'm going to comment that away and instead try to use the PS eval. So on the class, I want to use PS eval. And I can see and also read on the wiki that popped up on another screen here what the PS eval operator does. So basically it's a way to, without loading any objects into memory, just translate something into, ask the database directly on what's the status on a specific question. In this case, I might want to, I can do it a couple of different ways. I can do to run this in the database, but then set the max count to, for example, 2. And the page where I'm going to start is 0. And if I want to depend on anything, how often do I want to run this? You can just, do an empty string there, for example, then it will not update ever. So that might be a problem. But this one, if this is empty, that's just equal good, not empty. This one will bring in 5,000 objects. This one will only bring in 2 because the max count of the PS eval has been set. The max fetch to 2. So that it will only bring in 2 of them. So this is much more efficient to do it this way, but with the problematic issue that it gets stale. So if this value were to change heavily during the session that you run, you wouldn't see the change. This is a good example of a thing that probably doesn't change because we're just checking if there's anything. But it might. So how would we go about to make sure that we actually discover if there is a change? Because then we would want to run this PS eval once more. Well, one thing is that we can check if this object is changed when it comes to the state. So that would be one way. So whenever the state is changed, then this whole expression will be executed again. So then we're on the safe side, because then it will, whenever there's a new a big change in this, it will run this again to see if there's an update to if there are all instances. Having done this, rewritten it this way, let's see how this screen would behave then if we open it again. Analyze expressions. And we're gonna include the left side and look inside, and I can still see that this one is used, but it's not using the operator all instances in memory. So that's good. So I can ideally it would show up as here as well in some cost in persistent storage, but that might need something more. Not sure why that didn't. So this is a good tooling that you should apply to make discoveries about how your system is performing and why it's performing like it's performing. And of course, it's like that with everything, that first you make it work, then you make it fast. So don't worry about performance initially, but as soon as you have some success with your system and there's things in it, there will be things to find, things to optimize, and to reduce the load on the system to make it perform better. Charles, have you seen this and applied this to the MDriven portal model? No, I can't hear you. Or is it? You can hear, but I can't hear. So maybe my thing dropped. that wasn't very nice. So one of the sounds that I heard maybe was the, yeah. Okay, so actually what has happened is that my Bluetooth headset disconnected, but luckily I used the other microphone, so hopefully I can just plug in. I thought you were extremely silent, everyone, but maybe it was just me, not. So I beg your pardon if I have talked over you and not listened to your questions. Was solely because. Say something now. Let's see if I hear. Ah, good, good. Now I hear you. Sorry. So, Charles. Yeah. So, in the MDriven server, download the statistics and import those so that you, once you follow up on this view, you will get hints on where we have issues. And it's no one is to blame for those issues. It's just that things grow and things get used, and all of a sudden there's like 1,000 details in one thing, and it will become a problem. Good. Charles, how's the status on the Docker things? Are we having progress? So in the end, we will probably have something that looks like similar to this downloading of local servers, because what we do with these is that we run them on your machine directly. But of course, if we have them in Docker containers, they will be more easily deployed to servers. And so it should be really easy to just drop a new version of a Docker container without risking losing your settings or your data. Yeah, so that's the goal. And hopefully once we have that going, we will turn our focus back to example models that goes on top of that, so that we more easily can show and tell bigger parts of MDriven. Say that these analyze expressions is the same button that's available here, but when we do it on a view model, it brings in all the expressions from the view, and when we do it here, it's just one of the expressions. And what we did with this one, so you can still look inside. What this does is also it calls out to the LLM to explain the expression. It's not very nicely formatted at the moment, but the goal is to be get some clear text explanation of what the expression actually does. So it had a lot to say about these things. It's also a bit small, I guess. So we will work on the layout for that. But it might be good to get an LLM translation of a complex expression to better understand if it is what you intended. Good. And with that, I guess we will round this off. For surely there must be some questions. Damien, everything works smoothly at your end. Good. So state is the attribute of this particular class thing. So that's this one here. Yes. So basically, so this parameter is just what you want to. If this change, then this should be reevaluated. If it doesn't, no, because true doesn't change. So if I were to do like change time, and change time is actually set each time I save. And why is it done that? Yeah, because in this on update, change time is set to date time now. Then it would be re-evaluated once after each save. But it's no, so it could be anything. So that's the neat thing here. It's actually not forcing it to re-evaluate. It's just saying that it is invalidated. So the next time someone comes to ask, can I go the trigger 1? Then it sees that, whoa, this is out of date now because change time triggered an invalidation. And if you assign the exact same value, it doesn't count as a change. If you assigned value X and then back to the original value, that would have been a change. So what you're saying now is when you have in, this will be evaluated in the database, and it might be tricky to ask to select things based on its value. So if its change time is bigger, and what should you put here? And I usually do it to have some constant, external constant, like let my point in time equal daytime today, add days. So now I have a valid daytime in this variable, and I can send that into the PSLR. That's a good trick to get them, because you don't necessarily want to point somewhere else in the database, because it might be a value that's from memory, but then you need to take that value and have it in a variable in order to send it to the database, to the query. So we could do take this change time, and then which one will be bigger? Yeah, a time now, to have that, and just put that in memory for now. So now we have something here, and here we could do x dot total milliseconds. So if it's larger than 60, and we can do a case true false, which is the same as then else. So if it's larger than 60, then we do x dot this is the second. Let's see, I'm gonna have the total seconds, not the second. I think there's a total seconds. Total, I don't know why it doesn't show. It's there, but it didn't show up in the help. So total seconds. So if it's, I can say seconds, but if it's, so this is the total seconds of this stretch of time. This is a time difference, time span. So if that is, then I want to say the total minutes and say that I'm talking minutes. Yeah. So we're gonna check this local host, and we take one of these. So what this now says is how many minutes and and total seconds. That sort of badly formulated. But if I change this one, it only displays the seconds. So change that one. So why I will not help you to do this in as an operator is because I can just take this and I can put that on the sys superclass, for example, and then I can do a method here and that has give me time that takes the day time and returns a string and has the body of this, but it doesn't take the change time, it takes the date time it's sent in as a variable. And having done that, it will be easy to, instead of doing this, just doing give me time. Now I forgot to say that give me time should be a query method, so it's available not only as action but always, because it doesn't change data, so that's totally fine. Give me time, and then I have that on all objects whenever I want and can send in any time I want. In this case I want the change time. Sure that that is okay, and then yes, you can do that, and then yeah, let's see, like that, and then now I have two columns and they behave pretty much the same. So I can move and have a generic way to get this behavior. And I saw what you did in your model, and I stole a bit of that and put in another model. It's very practical to have the age concept when it's close in time. But as soon as it's longer in time, I switch back to showing the actual date. So very good. There was a bit of questions and a good opportunity to show the ability to put in methods, query methods in the superclass to and also to calculate with dates. Very good. So thank you for showing up, and I hope to see you in next month, April. Thank you. Bye.